Here's an idea. Community is a postmodern masterpiece. So in case you're suffering a sudden bout of Changnesia, we'll do a little recap. Created by Dan Harmon, Community is, and probably soon will have been, an NBC sitcom about a group of friends attending Greendale Community College. Abed, Annie, Britta, Jeff, Pierce, Shirley, and Troy are 7 students from couldn't be more different but actually weirdly related backgrounds who become friends, but also like actual friends when they join a Spanish study group. The show focuses on this differently functional group, their constantly shifting interpersonal relationships, their community college, its theatrical dean, and unique instructors.
I am a Spanish genius!
Monkeys steal pens, this guy has starburns, Leonard gets told to shut up, and in the process we are led to wonder whether or not there really is such a thing as objective truth. Okay, so but really, much of Community suggests that it might, put on your seatbelts, be perfectly postmodern television. But before we talk about Community's Postmodernism more in depth, let's just jump right into the briar patch and ask, what is postmodernism? I'll give the philosophy and art history students a moment to finish their collective ugh. And we're done. First, to be clear, as far as any label, impressionist, brony, nerd, minimalist, jock, is problematic, postmodernism is quite possibly the most problematic. Referring to visual art, literature, philosophy, film, architecture, music, the postmodern condition describes a skeptical, often playful response to established concepts. French philosopher Jean-Francois Lyotard described postmodernism as an incredulity towards meta-narratives, a sort of skepticism towards the stories which help us organize all other stories. For example, capitalism is a meta-narrative which legitimizes economic and political narratives. Religion is a meta-narrative that organizes and legitimizes countless economic, political, and cultural narratives. For postmodernists, meta-narratives like these, and even truth, progress, reason, and science, lose their luster in a world that is totally constructed, managed, and representational. It's sort of like we don't know whether or not we're living in the Imaginarium. Or, as Jeff Winger so aptly put it,
I discovered at a very early age that if I talk long enough, I could make anything right or wrong. So either I'm God or truth is relative.
Now, postmodernism is potentially problematic because the disassembly of meta-narratives might itself be a meta-narrative, thus leading to some sort of theoretical autosarcophagy, but that's a rabbit hole that we're not gonna jump into. Postmodern artworks like those of John Cage, Robs Rauschenberg, and Ryman, Lawrence Vena, Yves Klein, and countless others are characterized by confident uncertainty, an admission of the fact that universal acceptance or enjoyment of something is impossible. Lack of interest in progressions, narratives, of course, and the constant pervasive presence of contradiction. Or not. Because again, there is no such thing as a shared truth, so why give it such a high distinction? Many postmodern works are built on reference, pastiche, genre agnosticism, and not so much the betrayal of expectation, as the question of whether expectations are even important in the first place. Expectations are kind of like Glee. They're built on empty narratives which are compelling only to teenagers with low IQs. So how does Community fit into all of this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Allow me to actually, I'm not gonna do that anymore. First and foremost, many, if not most episodes of Community are send-ups or pastiches of well-worn narrative forms. The Western, the love story, the action film, the sci-fi adventure, the heist, the feel-good movie, the documentary, the morning show, the list. Guess what? It goes on. And whatever elements, micro and macro, which are not lampooning the more traveled paths in the yellow wood, are strongly critical. They are self-consciously referential, skeptical, and playfully judgmental of culture. They are generally not in service of, and sometimes even hostile to, meta-narratives. Like 2 quick examples. Community confronts the meta-narrative of family by replacing it with a study group, and the meta-narrative of education through a book learning setting, which is dysfunctional at best. Not to mention the show is built on contradiction. or not. A lawyer who doesn't practice law, an inactive activist, an innocent, naive, homeless, former drug addict, and the most kind, compassionate, outgoing character is the one who stereotypically would be the hardest to interact with.
Shirley, would you consider spinning off with me? Just riffing, but we could open a hair salon together.
Well, I don't understand. Is this you being meta?
The Spanish study group doesn't study Spanish, and even the theme song seems to call into question the very existence of the show. Now, am I saying that Community is the only postmodern television show? No. No! Not at all. The Simpsons, The Office, How I Met Your Mother, and even most reality TV shows have elements of the postmodern practice. Arrested Development, too, is highly critical, referential, self-conscious, narratively disinterested, but not nearly as many streets ahead as Community.
You have to ask, your street's fine?
In Death of the Author, Roland Barthes says that we know the text is not a line of words releasing a single theological meaning, but a multi-dimensional space in which a variety of writings, none of them original, blend and clash. The text is a tissue of quotations drawn from the innumerable centers of culture. Community, almost one by one, absorbs, comments on, and challenges the legitimacy of all of the elements in that multi-dimensional space. And it does it more often, more critically, and I think more successfully than Arrested Development, Family Guy, and all the other highly self-conscious television shows. Or maybe this is the AT&T of Idea Channel claims, and Community isn't postmodern, but just contemporary, or post-postmodern, or post-postmodern, or wherever we are.
We need a Jesus movie for the post-postmodern world.
Much of postmodernism has found its way into our everything is a remix, comment as content media practice. And maybe instead of being smart and challenging and critical, Community is just performing disinterest in an attempt to be hip and cool. Cool. What do you guys think? Is Community a postmodern masterpiece? Let us know in the comments, and subscription is not a meta-narrative, so you don't have to be skeptical of it. I think the Venn diagram of Idea Channel subscribers and people who went to go see John Carter is a circle. Let's see what you guys had to say about Kickstarter would. First, just to be really clear, I loved Real Steel. It's Hugh Jackman in Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the movie. What is there not to love? To Intro Maker, FTW, and everyone else asking for closed captions, this is a thing that we are gonna try really hard to get better at. Bear with us, but we're gonna figure it out, we promise. Michael Hammer says that Kickstarter isn't gonna replace Hollywood anytime soon because Hollywood is great at recognizing, courting, and employing talent. And that's something that, as an industry, Kickstarter just doesn't come close to. So yeah, it's a good point. I don't know what to say to this, so I'm not gonna say anything. A bunch of people pointed out that there is, in fact, a Twin Peaks movie. It's called Fire Walk With Me, which I totally forgot about. Maybe I just want someone to kickstart a better Twin Peaks movie? I don't know. Mina86NG and Triangle Time say that it would be great if there was a version of Kickstarter where you could actually invest and get some money back, which, yeah, is complicated because Kickstarter would then have to be regulated by the SEC, which is a whole other really complicated thing. But this is a legal thing that you can do, it just, the service doesn't exist yet. So when it does, yeah, movie making is probably gonna change a lot. And this is actually written about in the Jobs Act from a few years ago, so we'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. It's fascinating. Daniel Johnson points out that another thing working against Kickstarter is the fact that it's hard to actually earn money from most Kickstarter projects, and so you're not gonna get a lot of big names or people who want lots of zeros at the ends of their paychecks. Iron Cord Knight, this is a really interesting topic. And if you missed it, Vice actually recently did a really interesting piece. We'll put a link in the description. But yeah, we have some ideas, maybe someday. Seth Broadbeck thinks that Kickstarter is just going to end up being part of the marketing process of a lot of Hollywood movies as a way to just get the word out for a movie and to line some more pockets in the process, which, yeah, I mean, I could see that being the case. And yeah, you make a really good point about whether or not it edges out other indie movies, yet to be told. This just a million times this. This week's episode was brought to you by the awesome work of these awesome people, and the tweet of the week comes from Spock Girl, who points us towards Liam Dryden's video about the ethics of shipping real people, which you should watch. We'll put a link in the description. And also, if you have a television, there are going to be some Idea Channel promos on the TV after Nova tonight and on the 10th of April. It's gonna be weird. You should watch it.